Hello, my name is Lena Hart, and last night I got evicted. Not just moved out, not couldn't make rent for a few weeks. No, I mean times evicted. Times the kind of eviction where a man in a cheap suit and winter breath hands you a letter like it's your death certificate and the word asterisk, asterisk, notice, asterisk, asterisk, screams in bold at the top. I stared at it for a long time. The walls of my apartment peeling white paint, one dying plant, a mattress on the floor suddenly looked like a crime scene. Mine. The letter said I had 72 hours, but he changed the locks the next day. It's funny how fast a life collapses. 1 second, you're paying half the rent on time and telling yourself things will pick up. Next, you're kneeling on the floor, stuffing clothes into a garbage bag because you can't afford a suitcase. The silence after he left was heavy. It wasn't just about losing the place. It was the realization that no one was going to call. Not my ex, not my old boss, not even the friend who said, "You can always crash with me." I wasn't anyone's emergency contact anymore. I stepped outside just before midnight. The hallway smelled like bleach and cheap vodka. Somebody downstairs was having another one of those Thursday, almost Friday parties. I dragged my bag past their door, and laughter spilt out like warm light I didn't belong to. The city was cold, the kind of cold that isn't about weather, it's about indifference. Streetlights flickered, a drunk couple argued at the corner, and somewhere a siren wailed like a warning shot. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't look back. I walked for blocks. My shoes were soaked from the slush. I passed storefronts shuttered for the night, except one. Across the street, a neon sign flickered. Asterisk, asterisk. The Blue Mirage, asterisk, asterisk. The letters buzzed faintly, like they were whispering my name. The windows were tinted black, but I could hear the music low, slow, dangerous. The kind of rhythm that made your pulse forget itself. For a second, I thought it was a mirage, some desperate hallucination conjured by exhaustion. But then the door opened, spilling a wash of red light across the sidewalk, and a man stumbled out laughing, clutching a woman in sequins. Her heels clicked against the concrete. Her smile looked painted on. I told myself to keep walking. Instead, I crossed the street. Inside, it smelled like perfume and burnt whiskey. The lights were dim, the floor sticky. I kept my head down as I walked to the bar, my hands gripping the strap of my bag like it was a lifeline. The bartender looked at me tall, tattooed, eyes sharp, but not unkind. He didn't ask for ID. He didn't need to. I probably looked older than I was. "Kitchen's closed," he said, wiping a glass. "I'm not here to eat," I said quietly. "I'm looking for work." He laughed, a low, disbelieving sound. "You don't look like the dishwasher type." "Doesn't matter what I look like," I said. "I just need cash. Tonight, if possible." Something in my voice must have hit him. He glanced toward the end of the bar, then jerked his chin. "She's the one you want to talk to?" That's when I met Time's Vera. Asterisk. She was sitting in a booth alone, smoke curling from a half-burned cigarette, wearing a black silk dress that looked like it could slice through the air. Her lipstick was the color of blood under candlelight. When I told her I needed a job, she didn't blink, just looked me up and down like she could see the whole story, the eviction, the hunger, the hopelessness, and she liked it. "You dance?" she asked. I hesitated. "I used to, not like that." Her smile was slow. "Like that's exactly what I'm offering." I shook my head. "I'm not. Don't worry. Nobody ever is on the first night." She tapped her cigarette against the ashtray, then nodded toward the stage. "Go on. Watch." A woman was dancing under blue lights, her body moving like smoke, not desperate, not crude, just Time's haunted asterisk. The crowd was hypnotized. For a moment, I forgot about the cold, the fear. The letter is still folded in my pocket. For a moment, I imagined being her, the way she controlled the room, the way every eye followed her, but no one truly touched her. Control, That's what it was. Power disguised as performance. When the song ended, Vera said softly, "We close at 3. Be here tomorrow by 9. Wear black." I should have said no. I should have walked out, found a shelter, called someone, asterisk, anyone, asterisk. Instead, I said, "Okay." That night, I slept in a 24-hour laundromat with my bag as a pillow. The machines hummed around me like mechanical heartbeats. I tried to close my eyes, but the image of the dancer wouldn't leave. The way she looked at the crowd detached, like she'd seen something she couldn't unsee. And for the first time since losing everything, I felt something stir inside me. Not hope exactly, something darker. A sense that the worst was already behind me. That maybe, in a place like the Blue Mirage, being broken wasn't a liability, it was a qualification. By sunrise, I was still awake. The eviction notice sat beside me on the bench, crumpled, stained with coffee. I almost laughed because I realized something. That letter didn't end my story. It started. I whispered again, testing the sound of it in the reflection of the laundromat window. And for the first time in a long while, it didn't sound like defeat. It sounded like a warning, and I told myself I was just going to watch. That was the lie that got me through the door the next night. The Blue Mirage looked different when I wasn't standing outside freezing. Inside, it was all mirrors and shadows, velvet curtains swallowing the light, air thick with smoke and perfume. Every corner whispered secrets. Even the floor vibrated faintly, like the place had a pulse of its own. Vera was waiting for me at the bar. Same black dress, same perfect stillness, like she hadn't moved since the night before. "You came," she said. "I said I would." She smiled. Most girls say that. Then they remember who they used to be and never come back. I didn't answer. Because that was the problem. I didn't remember who I used to be. She slid a glass of water toward me, though it looked like gin. "You can start tonight. First rule, no one touches without paying. Second rule, never leave your drink unattended. Third rule, if you ever feel unsafe, walk straight to the back hallway. No questions. Got it? Got it? Good." She leaned in, her perfume sharp and intoxicating. "We don't do victims here, Lena. We do survivors. Understand the difference?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure I did. "Follow me," she said. The dressing room was chaos, laughter, music, perfume, and fear, all mixed. Girls of every kind, too young, too tired, too painted, moved through the mirrors like ghosts. One of them, blonde with a scar along her collarbone, gave me a half smile. "First night?" she asked. "Yeah. Don't worry. You'll stop shaking after your third drink." Her name was Cassie. She spoke fast, like she didn't want to give her fear time to grow teeth. "You local?" she asked. "Was," I said. "Got evicted." She laughed, without humor. "Join the club. Half of us came here after losing somewhere else." Before I could ask what she meant, the DJ's voice boomed through the wall. "Stage 1, you're on." The room shifted. Cassie looked up at me through the mirror. "That's me. Watch closely, rookie. You'll learn faster than you think." Through a slit in the curtain, I watched her dance. Not the kind of dance you learn in studios. This was something rawer, sharper, born from hunger and survival. Every move was a negotiation. Every glance, a contract. The crowd looked harmless men in suits, a few women pretending to be brave, laughter and smoke curling together, but their eyes told another story. They weren't watching Cassie, they were consuming her, and yet she stayed in control, somehow. That's when I realized what Vera meant by survivors. My turn came faster than I thought. Someone pressed a black dress into my hands, sequined, too tight, too revealing. My reflection looked like someone I'd never met. I could have walked out then, but the eviction notice flashed in my mind, and the image of Cassie's fierce, defiant face on stage. I walked out when my name was called. The first few seconds were soundless, just my heartbeat thudding in my ears. Then the lights hit me, and the crowd blurred into a single, faceless thing. The music started. I moved, not gracefully, but truthfully. I wasn't performing seduction. I was performing survival. And somehow, that worked. Applause hit like heat. Cash folded into my hand. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't invisible. Afterwards, Vera met me at the bar. "Not bad," she said. "Rough edges, but real. Real sells." "I don't think I can do that again," I said, breathless. "You will," she said simply, "because you have nowhere else to go." The words landed like a threat, dressed as advice. I glanced toward Cassie. She was laughing with one of the bouncers, but her eyes flicked to Vera, quick, wary, calculating. That's when I noticed something strange. Every dancer's purse sat in the same locked cabinet behind the bar. Keys hung from Vera's necklace. It didn't feel like management. It felt like possession. As the night went on, Vera introduced me to the clients, a few big spenders, all smiles and teeth. One of them said he recognized me from somewhere. I told him he didn't. He laughed and whispered, "I'll remember you anyway." I didn't like his voice, or the way Vera smiled behind him approving. When the lights finally came up, the girls stripped off their stage names and makeup like armor after battle. Cassie offered me a cigarette. "You did good," she said. "Thanks. Word of advice, don't ask Vera about the girls who quit. She doesn't like that topic." I frowned. "You mean some just leave?" She exhaled smoke slowly. "That's the story she tells. Doesn't make it true." Vera paid me in cash, small bills, crisp. "You'll get your own locker tomorrow," she said. "We keep things safe here." I nodded, pocketed the money, but my hand brushed the edge of my eviction notice, still folded inside. Safe. That word didn't belong anywhere near this place. As I stepped out into the cold, dawn bleeding into the horizon, the neon sign flickered again, the Blue Mirage, and for the first time, I noticed the smaller word beneath it, almost invisible under the glow. The property of Hartwell Holdings. Hartwell, my landlord's name. The man who evicted me. The street spun. Maybe it was the exhaustion, the horror of realizing I hadn't escaped him. I'd walked straight into his trap. "Welcome to the Mirage," Vera had said earlier. She wasn't talking about the bar. She was talking about the illusion of choice. And I think someone wanted me here. And nothing in the Blue Mirage is free. By the end of my first week, I'd learned the rhythm of the place. The songs, the faces, the fake smiles that bought us time. But what I didn't understand, not yet, was the math. Every dollar I made already belonged to someone else. It started with the house cut, 30%. Then costume maintenance, another 10%. Stage rental, security fees, performance tax. By the time Vera handed me my envelope each night, I was left with scraps. But scraps were still survival, until the day she used that word. Debt. It was a Tuesday. The crowd was thin, mostly regulars, the kind who tipped in crumpled bills and confessions. I just finished my second set when Vera motioned me over. She was sitting in her booth again, swirling a glass of red wine that looked like blood under blue light. "Sit," she said, smiling without warmth. I did. "You're doing well, Lena. You've got that thing that ache people pay to feel but can't name." "Thanks," I said, unsure if it was a compliment or a diagnosis. She lit a cigarette and exhaled slowly. "I wanted to remind you, the wardrobe, the shoes, the locker deposit, even the protection fee. Those aren't gifts. They're investments. You're in debt for about $1,500 now." My pulse spiked. $1,500? Her smile didn't change. "You'll pay it off. They all do." I opened my mouth to argue, but Cassie appeared beside me, gently resting a hand on my shoulder. "Don't fight it," she murmured. "It's just how it works." That night, I counted my cash 3 times in the laundromat bathroom before realizing it was useless. I'd never catch up. When I finally looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger wearing exhaustion like makeup, and behind her reflection, taped to the cracked tile wall, was a missing person flyer. Sandra Holt, last seen. 4 months ago. I froze. Different face, Same name, same scar on the collarbone. The next night, I found Cassie backstage, reapplying lipstick in the mirror like nothing was wrong. I showed her the flyer. Her reflection flinched. "Where'd you get that?" "Bathroom on 12th. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed even. "She's not me, Cassie. Drop it." She turned, eyes glassy under the dressing room lights. "You want to make it out of here, Lena? Don't dig." Then she walked away, heels clacking like a countdown. But curiosity is a disease, and survival doesn't mean silence. It means knowing when to listen and when to spy. So I started watching. The cash room was locked. After every shift, only Vera and the bouncer, Nate, ever went inside. Some nights, I'd hear shouting behind the door. Other nights, I'd see girls leaving through the back alley, some crying, some carried. None came back. Then one night, Cassie didn't show up for her set. Vera said she was sick, but her locker was empty. And when I checked the roster board, her name was already gone like she'd never existed. That's when the panic began to simmer under the lights. The dancers whispered in corners, trading rumors like currency. Cassie ran. Cassie owed too much. Cassie talked. I started to see the cracks, bruises covered with glitter, smiles held up by fear. The Blue Mirage wasn't a club. It was a machine, and we were the gears. A few nights later, I caught Nate hauling a trash bag out the back door at 3 a.m. It sagged like something heavy was inside. I told myself it was just garbage. But the next morning, police tape fluttered a few blocks away, an alley behind an old pawn shop. No news coverage, nobody's name, just whispers. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My thoughts kept circling the same truth. If Cassie was gone, I was next. So I searched her locker again, pretending to clean. Inside the corner, beneath a layer of false bottom plastic, I found a folded paper, yellowed, creased, but familiar. An eviction notice. Same handwriting, same ink, same name in the top right corner. Marcus Hartwell, my landlord. The air left my lungs. I felt dizzy, almost drunk on fear. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a pipeline. Hartwell evicted women who couldn't pay, offering help, connecting them to Vera's club. Women like me, desperate, disposable. I imagined Cassie's face, the haunted look she wore when she said, "Don't dig," but it was too late. I was already knee-deep in the dirt. That night, Vera called me into her office. The room was colder than usual. The lights dimmed, music was muffled by distance. She gestured for me to sit. "You've been asking questions," she said softly. "About Cassie, about money. That's dangerous. Her hand sliced the air. "Don't insult me. You're smart, Lena. I saw it the moment you walked in. You think you're different from the rest, but you're not. You're in debt. You're mine." My throat tightened. "What if I quit?" She smiled. "You can't kid a contract you never read." She opened a drawer and slid a file across the desk. Inside were forms legal-looking, stamped, signed with my name, my signature. I didn't remember signing anything, but there it was, a contract binding me to Blue Mirage Entertainment, LLC for 1 year, renewable at Vera's discretion. My heart pounded. "This is fake." She tilted her head. "Is it? Or were you just too desperate to notice what you agreed to?" When I left her office, my hands were shaking. The stage lights felt harsher, the music louder, the men's faces hungrier. I wasn't a performer anymore. I was properly. Later that night, I sat in the alley behind the club, chain-smoking with the cook, a quiet guy named Eli. He saw the panic in my eyes and said quietly, "You found out, didn't you?" I stared at him. "Found out what?" He looked around before whispering. "Vera and Hartwell own half this block. Apartments, shelters, the club, all funnels. They find women on the edge, pull them in with promises, bleed them dry. When someone disappears, no one asks. You know why?" I shook my head. "Because technically, she's already homeless." I felt the world tilt. Somewhere deep inside, the last piece of denial cracked. That night, I packed my bag. I was ready to run. But when I reached my locker, it was open, empty. My clothes, my ID, my phone gone. All that was left was a single folded note written in neat cursive. Debt must be paid, Lena. Don't make me come find you. Signed, V. And I finally understood what the Blue Mirage really was. A place built for women who'd already lost everything so no one would notice when they disappeared. And I don't believe in coincidences anymore. After the note, I didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't leave, because I knew if I ran without a plan, I'd end up like Cassie. A missing flyer that no one printed, a whisper in the dark corners of the Blue Mirage. So I stayed, I smiled, I danced, and I waited. Every shift felt like walking through a minefield, every glance from Vera like the click of a trigger. But while she thought I was breaking, I was memorizing. The office door code, the security rotations, the times the cameras went blind for cigarette breaks. I didn't want to survive anymore. I wanted to know. It started with a name, Hartwell Holdings. I'd seen it under the neon sign, then again, in Cassie's locker. And now I saw it printed across the envelopes Vera used to pay the house cut. It wasn't just property management. It was ownership. Hartwell Holdings bought up buildings across the city, the neighborhoods where tenants vanished and dancers appeared. I had to see the proof. Thursday night, just past 2 a.m., the club was still pulsing music, sweat, cash, and perfume, mixing into something toxic and beautiful. Vera was laughing with 2 clients in the VIP booth, her diamond bracelet flashing like a weapon under the lights. Nate guarded the back hallway, but I knew his weakness. I walked up to him, trembling just enough to look convincing. "I need a smoke," I whispered. "You got a light?" He hesitated, then smirked. "You're not supposed to be back here." "Neither are you," he laughed, gave me his lighter, and followed me outside. 2 minutes later, while he was still talking about some big deal coming up, I dropped the lighter, bent to pick it up, and slipped his keyring from his belt loop. He didn't notice. The office smelled like money and danger leather, cigarettes, and the faint sweetness of expensive rot. The lights from the stage barely reached inside. I moved fast. Desk drawers, first receipts, contracts, false IDs, a burner phone full of messages between V and MH. Hartwell. Then I found the file cabinet. Locked, but one of the keys fit. Inside, property deeds, all stamped with the same signature, Marcus Hartwell, my old landlord, the man who evicted me. And every deed had a notation scribbled in red pen at the bottom. Recruitment potential. Confirmed. I felt my stomach twist. Each address was a person's life dismantled evictions, feeding a pipeline into Vera's club. Women became assets. Apartments became bait. Hartwell supplied the desperation. For monetized it. It was a partnership in human ruin. I pulled out my phone to take photos, but my bag was gone. Panic hit like a wave. Then, the office door clicked shut behind me. I turned. Vera was standing there. No smile, no cigarette, just eyes cold, knowing, looking for something. My mouth went dry. She walked closer, heels soft against the carpet. "I told you once, Lena, don't dig." "I know about Hartwell," I said, forcing my voice steady. "The buildings, the girls, the evictions. You're saving them," she interrupted, almost tenderly. "Do you think the world offers mercy to women like us? Hartwell gives me what I need. I give you what you need. It's transactional. You're trafficking them. I'm employing them," she said calmly. "And you're still here, aren't you?" Her gaze softened, almost pitying. "You remind me of me when I first walked in here, broke, angry, ready to burn everything down. But the world doesn't burn, Lena. It just swallows." She leaned in close, voice dropping to a whisper. "Here's the deal. Forget what you saw. Keep dancing. In 3 months, you'll be debt-free, cash in hand, walk away clean. Or what?" Her smile returned. "You'll end up like Cassie." My blood went cold. She pressed the keys into my hand, as if daring me. Go ahead. Be brave. Run if you want. Just remember, you have no ID, no phone, no home. Who are you without me? Then she turned, leaving the door open behind her like a challenge. I wanted to run. Instead, I went back to the locker room. The others were packing up, laughing, pretending not to see the tremor in my hands. When the last of them left, I slipped out the emergency exit. Rain hit hard, fast and freezing. The city smelled like smoke and oil. I walked 10 blocks to the only place with light still on, a 24-hour diner. I sat at the counter, shaking, trying to steady my breathing. The waitress poured coffee without asking. "You okay, honey?" I wanted to tell her everything. The evictions, the girls, the files. But the words jammed in my throat. Because how do you explain evil that looks like employment? How do you report a crime that begins with your own signature? I went back the next day, not to work to end it. Vera's office was empty. No files, no deeds, no evidence. Just the faint smell of her perfume and a single envelope on the desk with my name written on it. Inside, $500 in cash, my missing ID, and a note. "You earned this. Now disappear." But I couldn't, because when I opened the envelope further, a photograph slipped out. Cassie, standing beside Vera, smiling, dated 2 weeks ago. I felt my stomach drop. Cassie wasn't dead. She was working somewhere else. And if I knew Vera, that meant only one thing: expansion. New club, new city, recruits. That night, I stood in front of the mirror in my apartment. A new place, paid for in cash, like Vera had planned. But I didn't unpack because I finally understood the truth. I hadn't escaped. I'd been released. Vera wanted me free, so I could keep quiet. But I wasn't quiet anymore, and I have the keys to her empire. And I stopped being afraid the night I decided to burn it all down. For 3 days after Vera's note, I disappeared. No phone, no messages, no noise, just silence, and the endless hum of the city outside a cheap motel window. I'd look at my reflection in the bathroom mirror and barely recognize myself, bruised, thinner, harder. There was a moment I considered taking the money and leaving the city, disappearing the way Cassie did. But running doesn't fix rote. It only changes the view. And I wanted Vera to see what it looked like when one of her ghosts came back. The plan wasn't cinematic. It was desperate. But desperation has its own kind of genius. I still had one thing she didn't know about the burner phone I'd found in her office. Messages between V and MH. Enough to prove the partnership between the Blue Mirage and Hartwell Holdings. But that wasn't enough. I needed faces, documents, witnesses. So I called Eli, the quiet cook, who told me the truth. He didn't hesitate. "You're really going to do this?" "I have to," I said. "You know she'll kill you if you fail." "Then I can't fail." Friday night, the Blue Mirage pulsed with its usual fever bodies, bass, neon, and sin wrapped in perfume. I walked in through the front door, like I still belonged there. The dancers froze. The bartender's hand stopped midair. Vera looked up from her booth, surprise flashing for half a second before she masked it. "Well," she said, smiling, "I didn't expect you to be so brave or so stupid." I smiled back. I thought they were the same thing. She motioned for me to sit. The men beside her 2 suits, expensive, anonymous, turned slightly, interested. Hartwell was one of them. I knew it the moment I saw him. The same cold precision in his eyes, the same voice from the eviction. "Mr. Hartwell," Vera said smoothly. "You remember Lena, the tenant from your old property?" He smiled faintly. "Ah, yes, the one who couldn't keep up with her payments." I stared at him. "You made sure of that?" He didn't deny it. "We all need to make a living, Miss Hart." That was when I pressed record on the phone in my pocket. I kept my voice calm. "You two make a good team. He finds them, you break them. Efficient system." Vera laughed softly. "You don't understand, Lena. The system isn't ours. We just learned how to survive inside it. You mean exploit it? Her expression didn't change. Tomato, tomato. That's when Eli killed the lights. Darkness swallowed the room, followed by screams, chaos, and the sudden crack of glass. The fire alarm blared. Smoke began to rise from the hallway. Not fire yet, just a distraction. I ran, past the bar, through the back door, into Vera's office. My hands shook as I shoved documents into my bag, contracts, deeds, bank transfers. The burner phone vibrated with new messages from MH. Pull the plug. She knows. Then the door slammed. Vera stood there, hair wild, eyes sharp with fury. You think you're a hero? She hissed. You're nothing but a liability. She lunged. We crashed into the desk, papers scattering like feathers. Her hand went for the drawer, the one with the gun, but I was faster. The drawer opened, and I grabbed the first thing my fingers found. Not the gun, but the lighter Nate had once given me. I flicked it. Flame, close enough to catch the edge of the curtain. Smoke rose fast. Vera froze. What did you do? Ending the illusion, I stepped back, coughing as the fire crawled up the drapes, feeding on velvet and dust. You won't make it out, she said. Neither will you. But I did. I stumbled through the back exit, dragging the bag with me, choking on smoke and adrenaline. Outside, rain hit my skin like absolution. Sirens wailed in the distance. Fire engines. Police. Too late for rescue. Just in time for spectacle. I turned once the building's neon sign melting, letters collapsing in on themselves. The Blue Mirage. Gone. Later, in the police station, I gave them everything, the documents, the messages, the contracts. They didn't believe me at first, until the files matched multiple missing persons reports dating back 3 years. Hartwell Holdings was exposed. Vera disappeared. Some said she died in the fire. Others whispered she fled the country. I don't care, because I know the truth. Women like her don't die. They reinvent. Weeks later, they put me in a witness protection program. New name, new city. But I don't use it, because hiding is what they wanted. Instead, I started speaking, quietly, carefully, to shelters, to advocacy groups, to anyone who'd listen. Sometimes, I see faces that remind me of the dancers haunted, hungry, half alive, and every time, I tell them the same thing. Don't believe the light. It's not there to guide you, it's there to blind you. One night, after a talk in Chicago, I found a small envelope under my windshield wiper. No return address, no note, just a photograph. Vera, sitting at a bar somewhere new, different city, same black dress, same cigarette. On the back, in red ink, debt never dies, Lena. It just changes hands. I laughed. For the first time in a long time, it wasn't out of fear, because I wasn't running anymore, and I wasn't anyone's debt, and no one's ever evicting me again. It's been 3 years since the fire, and yet some nights, when the rain hits the windows just right, I still hear the bass, that low, slow throb beneath my ribs, like the heart of the Blue Mirage refusing to die. I live under a new name now, Elise Monroe. It looks neat on paper, the kind of name you'd expect on mailboxes, not missing person lists. But inside, I'm still Lena Hart, and I keep both names because they remind me of who I was and who I had to become. Every morning, I make coffee before dawn and walk 2 blocks to a small community center downtown. It used to be a pawn shop. Now it's something better, a place where girls come in from the street, from shelters, from silence. They don't know my story, not the real one. I tell them the safe version. Eviction, job, survival. I leave out the fire, the blood, the screaming. But sometimes, when a girl's voice trembles too much, or she keeps checking the door like she's waiting for someone, I know, and I tell her, softly, you're not crazy. You're in a system that wants you small. Then she looks up, and I see myself the first night I walked into the Blue Mirage, thinking it was salvation. The city hasn't changed much. Neon still bleeds through cracked windows, and people still mistake danger for opportunity. But word travels fast now. There are whispers of a bar reopening down in New Orleans, with a woman named Veronica Hale running it. No one calls her Vera anymore, but I saw her picture in a grainy news shot. Same eyes, same smile. She's back. I should be afraid. But fear is a language I no longer speak. Instead, I made a decision. The same night I saw the picture, I took the old flash drive from my drawer, the one with all the evidence they didn't release. There's more in it than the police ever used, enough to shut her down again. I sent it anonymously to a journalist in New York. No name, no message, just a note that said, "You'll find the story in the smoke." The next morning, I walked down to the river. The city was still half asleep, fog rolling over the water like it was trying to hide something. I watched it, thinking about how easy it is to vanish, not die, just fade. That's what the world does to women like us. It teaches us to disappear quietly, but I didn't. At night, I still dream of the fire, the red glow, the crowd screaming, the heat licking my throat. Except now, I'm not the one running. I'm watching from the street, calm, almost proud. And sometimes, in the dream, Vera turns toward me. She doesn't look angry. She looks amused, like she's already planning the next illusion. There's a saying I once heard. Some buildings don't burn down. They just change names. Maybe the Blue Mirage is still alive somewhere under a different sign, with new dancers and new debts. Maybe the fire was just its first rebirth. But I know this. If it ever rises again, I'll be there. Not to run, not to hide, to make sure the next fire finishes what I started. So if you ever find yourself on a dark street and a neon sign flickers in the distance, don't go in. It'll promise light, music, and escape. But all you'll find are mirrors. And behind every reflection, someone is waiting to own you. And I survived the Blue Mirage, but it's still out there waiting for another girl who thinks she has no choice.